NA player can beat NA player. We've seen it here proven once again as we move into our second match off the back of a very interesting first series. My name is FearDragon64, son of FearDragon63, and I'm joined here once again by Nate Yes? Nathan
Nate.
Yes?
Yes.
Son of Nathan No?
Yes.
Yeah. Correct. So, this next match is going to decide who gets to face off versus Neeb in the lower bracket elimination match. Who gets to face off versus Neeb in a situation where the loser will just be eliminated from Challenger. That's a fun place to be.
Yeah, no one in this group's supposed to beat Neeb, so whoever loses this match should basically just, that's it, right?
You know, you guys were talking about this before. JonSnow has the worst luck of any man I have ever seen in terms of getting seeded into groups with Neeb. He has worse luck than TLO did in 2017 because every single time he gets put in a group, it is almost always with Neeb, every single time. And now he has his golden opportunity. He never beats Neeb. He hasn't beaten Neeb once since 2015, where he played him once as a Terran.
So his only hope to not have to get eliminated by Neeb is to beat Vindicta here, and then he has to beat Idriling, which should be easier. Should be. Right?
Nothing is guaranteed in this region, which is one of my favorite things about
that is one of the best things. This group it's very awkward, it's very uncomfortable. And maybe Neeb's on life tilt now, like we don't know.
So here's the other fun thing about that series, because clearly we just saw the same sort of like one or two openings there from Idriling, where he's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna link flood you, and then I'll mix in a nice for him in two of those games. Alex or Neeb, and Scarlett has actually talked a lot about this before. Alex is the kind of person who will go for something, he'll do something, some sort of response, and even though he probably should have had more than the capabilities to just completely out-macro Idriling in a long-term game, if he played extra safe and make sure he was playing so unbelievably safe against any kind of all-in, he still could have out-macroed him from there. But Neeb won't do that because he has his way that he feels like he's supposed to be played, and he won't cut those corners a lot of the time. And it backfired because he could have played so safe there and would have been fine.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's Neeb. That's Neeb for you.
I got nothing. My brain is still just frazzled from that. I mean...
So instead, let's actually talk about this next series, because JonSnow versus Vindicta. I actually think this should be a pretty cool match, and JonSnow, while absolutely favored going into this, Vindicta has been really on the uprise.
He's top 10 on the Americas ladder right now.
And not just that, he's been getting great results versus a lot of different people. He beat some pretty good people in the qualifiers for this. He had a great showing in WCS Winter. This kid is someone to look out for in the next couple of months.
Is he legit Fear Dragon?
This match actually would prove whether or not he is, in fact, legit.
All right. That's all I want to know. Because here he is, in the bottom right, the man with the llama next to his command center. He is Vindicta.
Is that an emo haircut llama?
That is, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player from Storm Gaming. He is JonSnow, making a quick appearance in WCS Challenger for... He has a board of fights tonight.
His name is not Namshar. He is JonSnow.
Oh my, did I say Namshar?
No, the graphic was just right.
Oh, okay. I was like...
It's fine.
I think I'm going on life tilt now.
I just read it and I was like, no, my brain's not that frazzled.
I knew you
I'm not driving the magic school bus frazzle, you know what I'm saying? It's frizzle, sorry. Anyway.
You're gonna frazzle me. We do have, of course, a TVZ on our hands. JonSnow, Mr. Consistency of the North American
You know what?
team.
Can we just not talk about this match at all and theorycraft what happens if Idriling beats whoever is in the winner's match with him?
I'll tell you what happens.
What?
He renames himself again to crack Hydra.
Ooh, okay.
For those, I don't know if you guys touched upon this, but many of you out there may have thought, Idriling, is this his new name on the scene? Is Idra back? No. This is Idriling, a.k.a. Volts, a.k.a. Cicada, a.k.a. Ace, a.k.a. Enza Danino, a.k.a. I think at least 2 or 3 others that I'm forgetting. But yeah, You may know him by some
Cicada,
other
like
names.
the villain we can't get rid of, Cicada, or
Yes, from The
Okay,
Flash.
okay,
I
good.
knew you
I
still
was
watched
just-
that show.
I'm just clarifying.
So we do have Overlord checking around for JonSnow. It looks like it's maybe just checked around for some
Cicada was
proxy
his name he
Raxes.
competed in WCS with last year, right?
Yes, he
Okay.
competed with that in WCS last year, and then toward the end of the year, he changed his name to Ace around like August or September.
But when you do builds like that, I think you probably do want to change your name pretty regularly. It's like, well, you're not allowed to play in WCS as a barcode, so just keep changing your name and hope that you can qualify without anyone knowing it's you when you play against them.
Which is how we got through the ladder
That
qualifier.
is how he got through the ladder qualifier. So for the purposes of kind of talking about this match, it's just Reaper poking. None of the Lings have died yet. The Queens are out. It's poor Alexander, which means that you are not really getting inside the main without suiciding the Reaper. Circling speed is coming in. But hey, really fast, silly fast, greedily, egregiously greedy fast third command center out of Vindicta.
And hides it off in the corner, but unfortunately that corner is actually spotted, or is going to be spotted soon by the Overlord.
Yeah, the Overlord will not even have to risk itself to see that third command center. Is Vindicta, what do you think? Are you going to bring the full NA turtlemech memes? Is that where we're going?
Vindicta is, I have to say, pretty good at a lot of his late game play, and I also think that...
Is he going to give us an Athenius missile turret ring and mass battle cruisers or something ridiculous?
While it's definitely a possibility of Vindicta, I think one thing that has really impressed me about his play more recently, as opposed to like in the far past, is that I think he's put on some really good aggression. And while he can get up a big mech army behind it, I actually really like his bio play, and I really would like to see that.
Here to the link poke, nice. Doesn't lose anything. I mean, a bit of mining time, sure, but that was some bad luck, right? He moved the Hellions out right as the Lings show up. He's still able to come back. His build actually looks extremely similar to Souls from yesterday's Terran versus Zerg, where he went for the Reactor Hellion, but he did not take his second gas, his main. He just wanted that silly fast third command center, so his build has definitely been tested a little bit here, and these Marines are going to push back the Overlord.
There's Banshee Cloak. Overlord is going to survive with 1 hit point.
Send the Marine out. Do it!
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you have to worry about anything. Everything's going to be pulled to the front by the Hellions of the Reaper, so might as well.
Roach Warren finishing. Lair on the way.
Yeah.
What do you think JonSnow does? Nidus? With how greedy this build is from Vindicta, I feel like it is a possibility. But I also feel like maybe not. That's the least committed thing I could say as a commentator for your dragon. Please fill in the blanks.
Oh, it's okay. 7 roaches are on the way, which is more than enough to push back a handful of Hellions. I want to see, what does he make with the next set of larvae? That's the biggest thing on my mind, is what is he going to be making? Because he has some larvae banked up now. Okay, more roaches. He is going for the big attack. Yeah.
He's going to try and kill him.
Okay.
And it shouldn't work without a Nidus because there's Banshees coming out.
So the Hellions have been poking forward, but I don't know.
Lord?
Oh boy. So they got close enough to that third hatchery to see that there were no drones, but that was actually fairly early on. And now he's going to move in. Okay, he sees the roaches and he sees a lack of saturation. He should know something big is coming. And knowing the roaches, that really does eliminate the possibilities.
Double Amory on the way. Bunch of Lings are going to be flooded out behind this.
The Dropper Lord is for the Queens, right?
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, this is a pretty old school attack.
I was a little bit confused at first because I haven't seen something like this in so long.
Yeah, and spotting out the Dropper Overlord.
50 years.
It's been...
It's 80.
Hyperflate, okay. Nathanius, I see a Zerg player massing roaches and going for a big attack against me, which I may or may not survive. Is my response
He doesn't have
get
the production.
Hyperflate
He doesn't have the
rotors?
production to do anything else. It's fine. He doesn't have production. It's not like he can spend his money anywhere else. He's building one Banshee, 2 aliens at a time while he gets factories. But this might just kill him, right? Hellbats are not known for their viability versus La Roche Ravagier.
Oh, that's going to be a lot of depots that also go down here. Is he going to get supply blocked?
That's going to be the supply block of Destiny, yes.
Well, thankfully, he's going to lose a lot of SCVs here. That's going to unsupply block him further, as well as the Hellbats going down.
That's the silver lining.
That's the optimist in me.
That's the silver lining. GG, JonSnow goes up 1-0. I mean, this was just a really well-picked build. I mean, we think about it. like the Overlord was there. You mentioned this. Overlord was there. He saw how fast that third command center was. To have a third command center that fast, naturally, that second gas in the main is delayed, which means starport's delayed, which means even if you are going for Banshees, which he had a counter to by bringing the Queens over, it was still going to be rough for him to deal with. So he says, what are you probably going to have? Hellions? If you get third command center, and then he goes double armory before he builds the second and third factory. So there was no scenario where he was ever going to have more than 2 or 3 Banshees to defend against a huge swell of Roaches with Ravagers and a Link follow-up. And to boot, bringing the Queens and the Overlord is just it's a cherry on top.
Yeah, I really do feel like exactly what you were saying. A lot of that, it's like the half and half of scouting information and just knowing who he's playing against Vindicta. I know you were mentioning, like, for example, he does like to play those mech memes. We've seen him go into the late game a lot in the past. So JonSnow knowing the player and also getting that scout off, it's like, okay, 2 and 2 together, I think I can get away with this tech. So, a big old W for game number 1 going to JonSnow, and he just needs one more and he goes to that winner's match and dodges out of the way.
Why are the NA players trying to speedrun this group?
As opposed to the other days where they tried to draw it out.
That's fair, that's fair, that's fair. Cool.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we had the Riddler playing in WCS Challenger. Game number 2, it looks like, is going to be on Cyber Force as the players get on
ready.
Be
careful. He's like Beetlejuice. If you say his name enough times, a bunch of siege tanks
That's why I only say it once.
And then you're trapped.
Yeah. So, moving into game number 2, I want to see Vindicta play a little bit safer because JonSnow is a smart guy. He's been experienced. He's been around in the scene for a very long time now. So he knows when it's like, okay, if you're going to do the same thing again.
It just sucks, right? Like the one Overlord he has sees it. And that's the type of attack that if you have any idea it's coming, which is certainly on him, because if he sees the fast lair.
Even if he had sacked the Overlord in, he would have seen it, right?
Yeah, for sure. But that's my point, is if you see that you've been scouted, like, he did not make an attempt to, say, like, scan or suicide the Reaper, at least that I saw. And if you see a lair that fast, even if you're in that weird spot where you don't have the production set up, lift the factory, build a tech lab with it, and just get 1 or 2 tanks, because it's going to be infinitely better than having an extra couple of Hellbats, which Ravagers just kind of, like, they just laugh at, you know?
Yeah.
It's like when you're, I don't know. I don't know what's an embarrassing thing that someone would laugh at you for. That's what Ravagers do to Hellbats in that situation.
You know, for some reason, I cannot think of a situation.
Yeah, I know. I've just never been embarrassed in my whole life, right? Yeah. It's really hard. It's really hard. I don't know. I guess you have to ask someone less cool. Anyway, Barracks is halfway done. It looks like it's going to be... That gas timing actually will allow him to get a pretty fast factory follow-up to his Reaper with the reactor, so that should be fine. I feel like he has more gas than I'm expecting him to have when this barracks is done, but it's not the end of the...
It'll be like 110 or something, right?
It's a gas-first Reaper expand is what it is, so that he can get the factory follow-up faster.
Oh, I was so close, but 110 is not divisible by 4, so...
Is it, though? I don't know. Probably not.
I don't think so.
Leave the math to you, Fear Dragon.
100 is divisible by 4.
SCV Scout is always good. I love seeing SCV Scouts. It's my favorite. He's going to start the command center. So yeah, so the difference here is he won't be able to get the Marines with the barracks. So the barracks is going to immediately lift off to build a reactor. The factory is already on the way. That's the change up strategically. But there's no second gas, which says to me, Dragon of Fear, that we may once again have the fastest third command center alive.
Okay, JonSnow has that Overlord moving to the top right-hand side of Vindicta's main base. The other Overlord in that last game did stay alive with 1 hit point left over, but didn't actually see too much with that Overlord before. And Vindicta did make an effort to try and push that back. I wonder, I don't see a second Overlord make its way down to the bottom left-hand side.
He takes second gas before third command center, by the way. I'm just pointing that out. Okay. So he does have a little bit more, significantly more, excuse me, in terms of his tech capabilities than he did in game number 1. So JonSnow will not have an easy bop here.
So the SCV and the Reaper get pushed back, so the drone can make its way forward. The Reaper gonna try and deny that third for a little bit longer, but just getting a couple of Ling kills. Third base goes down. JonSnow has not to worry about for the early stages. And of course, behind this, we got that tech lab being popped on down next to the starport, actually very far back in. Vindicta really doesn't want that to get scouted, I guess. Yeah, that's gonna make for some interesting rally-ins when the barracks get swapped back over to that.
We'll see what he wants to do out of that. In my attempt to emulate actual good commentators for your dragon, let me postulate a question to you. What if you gave the Adept Shade ability to Terran add-ons so that you could reposition them within X range of where they originally were? If Baneling Nests get Blink, which is considered the pinnacle of StarCraft commentary, if Baneling Nests can Blink, why can't add-on Shade?
Well, I would use it to block my opponent's base.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I mean, is it could be used to reposition, which Terran players have been begging for, but it could also be a sick aggressive ability.
Oh my god, and then you land it on top of your opponent's supply depot so they can't raise it?
Yeah, there you go. But it would still follow building rules.
And then the supply depot just has a tech lab, so it can research extra supply.
Fear Dragon, I think we just accidentally made StarCraft 3 right here on air. The lair is starting up, so I am expecting some shenanigans.
Is one of the earlier layers you can go for sure. He's still going to get the spores.
The Overlord goes in the main, and he's doing basically the same thing he did last game, just not as greedily.
Yeah.
So the follow-up's not as late. So there'd be more Banshees by the time an attack could hit. But the other thing to keep in mind, there's no Roachhorn in this game. He's getting a quick lair, but there's actually nothing else with
him. No, I think he's just getting the lair so he has the Overseers to chase down the
so he's going to try and play just a straight-up old ball game.
Okay, a couple of Lings do spot out the angle of that first Banshee moving in, which does not even make its way to the mineral line super fast. As it wastes some time handling the Lings, trying to go after a creep tumor. Buys time for the Queens to get here, and with a lair finished up, he can make an Overseer, so he doesn't have to worry about this kind of situation.
And he's going for the same game plan he had last game, by the way. Hyperflight Rotors right after Cloak, double Armory.
Just a little bit later and slower than what we were originally seeing before.
Yeah. Well, the tech is similarly paced, the same, but his third command center was already in orbital by this point last game, which is why he died a horrible, painful death, to be perfectly clear. So he's made himself less vulnerable. JonSnow's not going to try and murder him immediately for it, and he should be able to play the game that he wants to play. Let's see what he can get done. This Banshee could poke the gas. Will take a few hits, but I think he could get a drone or two if he's lucky. Drone kind of hides inside the obstructor.
And now the Banshee's out of energy, so no more safety space.
He's right there. You could have got the drone. No, don't lose the breath.
Okay. That was unfortunate. And there's still another Spore Crawl over there. It makes it hard for this Banshee to get a lot more done, but should be able to find one, maybe two drones. Backs out of there. Hyperflight Rotor is about halfway finished. Man, that upgrade takes a long time.
Yeah. And that's after they buffed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
that's how I feel about DT Blink.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a good amount. I mean, this is actually a good is an understatement. This is a really solid amount of creep spread going in.
What's fascinating to me, so this screams, I'm going to bring a name out of ancient history. I don't even think this guy likes me, but he used to make builds. His name was Iacoic.
Oh, yeah.
This was one of the first strategies I ever read about in StarCraft 2 back when I was a scrub, and I'm like, I don't want to play normal. That sounds boring. And his philosophy was like, well, if you get enough Blue Flame Hellions and support them with Banshees and Vikings, this Wings of Liberty, mind you, so that was it, like, then you have a really powerful composition that can actually handle a lot of stuff. Now, we're getting mag field, so there will be Cyclones with it. But the focus, there's going to be a pretty big air focus with this, and I think that that's really cool. Because he's getting ship weapons so early, this opens up the possibility. If he gets any macroeconomic advantage, he could go into battle cruisers very easily, and they won't suck because he's going to be ahead, way ahead, on upgrades for the air if there were corruptors, like if he's, especially with how fast he's getting it. So there's a lot of options now. And Hyperflight Rotors is done, so these Banshees are going to be, their DPS is really high as is, and it's only going to get crazier now that they have the +1 about to finish.
Melee upgrades getting sniped off over there, and that is
no +1 for your Lings. Yep. That's a really good upgrade pickoff.
Absolutely. Those Lings also getting denied by the Hellions on the north side, so Vindicta is super safe on that side. Yeah, this style with the lot of Banshees with Hyperfly Rotors, it actually really reminds me of how Masa likes to play Battle.net.
It's still just one starport, by the way. So he's gonna trickle out the Banshees and make good use of them. But he's actually, instead of getting +2 vehicle armor, he's gonna go to +1 vehicle weapons. So he just wants all the attack upgrades now. But 14 Mutalisks are coming out, and there's nary a missile turret, nay, dare I say, not even an engineering bay on the field, Fear Dragon.
Nate, can I ask you, what anti-air is there if there's not missile turrets? I see a Marine and 3 Cyclones.
Yeah. Cyclones are not terrible against mutas.
Are they terrible versus 9 mutas or 14 mutas? When
Cyclones can play ball around missile turrets, and if they're in good enough numbers, but this is the type of army that just gets absolutely dumpstered. Well, look at this. Oh my god. You actually really, you want to lose the Banshee here, by the way. You want to know that these mutas are coming because there's no turrets. He does. Okay, he starts with Thor. Starts with Thor. But the mutas could literally fly in and right-click on that factory, and it is DED. Instead, he's just going to try and win the game by killing the actual units, which is also an acceptable strategy.
Yep, gets one of the tanks, goes after the SCVs. He's losing some units back at home.
This is one way to bring the Zerg home, especially since he's got Blue Flame Hellbats. Yeah, send me all your lings. Seems good.
Yeah, but I mean, the Banelings are going to come in here, and they actually, they got into a decent
actually
spot.
don't do anything the first wave. Second wave, good splits in the Hellbats. I'll give him some credit. He's still dying, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, he has to effectively almost end the game with his push on the other side of the map. And the problem is JonSnow's gradually going to rally out more. He has supply block. JonSnow was supply block, so it looks like he was losing some overlords. The Thor does get magic boxed on, and
no repair. Magic box works against Thors again, so the AoE's useless.
GG.
JonSnow with the quick 2-dub. I mean, he wants to get out of this group because he's got other engagements tonight. So
he is. And he is just excited, man. This is his golden opportunity to finally make it out of the group in first place. He's not just suddenly going to get second place and somehow end up versus Neeb in the semifinals again.
Thank God for that. This is his opportunity to get out of a group without having to face off against Neeb. Well done. Well done by JonSnow. That's all I have to say. Vindicta, I don't hate his build, but there's a certain lack of scouting. I think that's really the problem. And I'm going to go further and say that that's really weird because you have Banshees in your opponent's base. If you're not scanning and you have a harass unit, send a Banshee around. Seriously. He threw away multiple Banshees anyway, but it's like when you're doing a build like that, you have to ask yourself a question, especially when you're playing like mech. And that question is, what could I die to right now if I was caught off guard? Because if you're playing bio or like Marine Tank, Marine Mine, Marines are kind of good against everything. So it's more like, oh, I don't want to not look at my army. Like, as long as you're looking at your army, you're fine. Oh, wave of Marines will come out. They'll push the mutas away. But if you're playing mech and you queue up 3 tanks and 4 Hellions, yes, if mutas fly in right now, I die. I should have an eBay just in case, and I should have some missile turrets just in case.
Do you know where the Spire was? I didn't actually catch that.
Because it was in the crypts, where it's safe, Fear Dragon.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I think our next match is going to be that lower bracket match, that elimination match between Neeb and... I double took for a second because I was like, wait a second, Neeb is there. Is that the winner's match? No, that's the lower bracket elimination match between Neeb and Vindicta. PVT determined who is going to get knocked out.
Vindicta, please cheese every game. I want to...
Following that up, it's going to be Idriling versus JonSnow. But we'll see you guys in that Protoss versus Terran in just a little bit.